Hello everyone and welcome to Call Sign Charlie Models. Time for another inbox review. And today we have a different scale than what we typically do here at the channel. We have a 1/48 scale kit. That's because there's no 1/32 version of this kit because it would be an absolute monster in this scale. But today we are doing the Italeri 130 or 1/48 scale C-130J Hercules right here. Again, looks like it's going to be a nice kit and build up fairly nice. I know there are a few aftermarket sets to do some corrections to it, but we'll take a look inside the box. It does have a few different variants in here for the decals. We have 2 RAF, 1 American, and 1 Italian decal option in this kit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the camera turned around and the box set up, and we can start going through everything right after this. Alright, so let's start looking at the Italeri 1/48 scale C-130J C5 Hercules, kit number 2746. So again, nice box art on the front. Is it the best box art I've ever seen? No, but it does look pretty nice. And again, you can cut this off and post it on a wall, and it will be a fairly nice piece of wall art right here. As you see, we have the super decal sheet with 4 versions, 2 RAF, 1 American, and 1 Italian right here. Now for me, with living in Louisville, Kentucky, the Kentucky Air National Guard is here literally a couple miles away from my house. I can see the C-130s taking off from my house on various days. So I also do have the decal sheet for the Kentucky Air National Guard C-130, so I will be doing the Kentucky Air National Guard for this one when I build it. Now, moving off to the side of the box, we have a nice little history, a short paragraph of the history of the C-130 right here. We also have the side profile. It looks like this kit is going to be about 62.1 centimeters in total length right here. Then we also have our super decal sheet, which looks like we do have a lot going on with this decal sheet. And then we flip it over to the other side. We have our 4 variants right here. We have 30 Squadron RAF Bryce Norton Oxfordshire UK 2013. We also have the 30 Squadron RAF Lynham Transport Wiltshire UK 2009. Then we have the Italian Air Force, the 46 Brigata Area Pisa 2014 right there. And then we have the US Marine Corps VMGR 352 Afghanistan 2010 right there. So as you can see, the box is still taped shut, so I have literally not looked at this kit. I try to go in as blind as possible for these inbox reviews. So let's see how everything looks in here. Getting the box top off, and it looks like it's fairly decently packed with plastic. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to get everything set up, and then we can start going through the instructions, decals, and then all the plastic. So give me 1 second, I'll be right back. Alright, so starting off with the instructions, we have a nice booklet format. We have a nice little short paragraph about the history of the C-130 right here, exclusively the J variant of the C-130 as well. And we have it in various languages right there. After that, we open up, we have our sprue callout. We also have our color callouts using Italeri acrylic paints for that. And then just more parts callouts. We do have a few parts on these sprues that we will not be using for this build. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And then we start off with our kit. Looks like we're starting with our lower section with our nose landing gear. It looks like we also have to attach the nose landing gear during this phase. It does not look like we'll be able to attach the strut after the build is complete. Then after that, we're flipping that over, and then we're starting with our cockpit. The seats and the instructions look rather plain, so we'll have to see how the detail is on that, and then our control sticks and everything right there. Again, adding more detail to the cockpit. And then on our instrument panel, we just have colors to paint. We don't have actual decals, it looks like. Alright, up next we're starting with our cargo bay, getting all of our cargo bay done, and then we have the getting the forward section and the cargo bay all assembled. Looks like we have a ladder right there and a little bit of detail in the cargo bay right there, and then getting the front fuselage section attached to the aft fuselage section, and also some clear parts, our landing gear well, and then also some frame detail in there as well. And then on the other side we're adding clear parts, our some other detail parts, and our aft landing gear well. Then after that's all done, we are sandwiching our fuselage halves together along with the wing spar that goes along the inside, which will help support the wing. And we have a few other parts to go in. We have some upper detail for the ramp area as well, so that will be nice. And then we have our ramp doors right here. Looks like we have to paint this area right in here. And then we have the option of having it closed or open as well. After that's all done, we're adding in our landing gear, a couple extra parts to it, and then our landing gear doors as well. Just adding all of that in, and then we have the tail stinger on the back end as well. Alright, after all that, we are working on our wings, our vertical stabilizer and horizontal stabilizers, and then also getting our engine cones on right there. I do know that there's aftermarket sets for this that help with the detail of it, so we'll have to take a look at those here in a second. But it looks like there's some fairly nice amount of detail on this just right off the bat. Then after all that is done, we are adding in all of our lumps and bumps and antenna and everything onto the fuselage, and also a refueling probe going on, and then we have our wing tanks and a couple pitot tubes going on as well. And that's it for building the kit. Then we go into our color callouts, our decal scheme options right here. Again, we have some nice color schemes. This is our overall flat medium green right here for our British or RAF version. Then we have another gray. Actually, I didn't see this on the outside, but it's a mix of gray and green on the panels, like they replaced certain panels with the gray and the green. So that would be definitely a very lively paint scheme for this one. Then up next we have the Italian Air Force right here, a overall gray scheme. And then we have our U.S. Marine Corps ones as well right here. For all my Marines, does anybody know how many boxes of crowns you can fit in a C-130? Alright, now onto our decal sheet. This is a huge decal sheet right here. And we have some nice decals. They do feel a little bit thick and raised up here. The blade tip decals, they do seem a little bit flat, but I'm sure that's alright. And then I don't know what is over top. We have like a little film or something on top. Okay, so maybe, okay, there we go. Problem fixed. There was a film, like almost, it's not a dust or anything, but something was over all the decals and just making them look a lot flatter than they actually are. So I cleaned it all up, and now we can see the brightness of these decals right here. So definitely, if you have this one, take a look at your decal sheet and see if they look flat. Then take your hands over it and rub them off, and you can see the difference right there from how it was before and after I just wiped everything off. So definitely take a look at that. So all the decals on here do look nice. For the walkways, they do feel a little bit thick. Along with all the other decals, they do feel a little bit thick. but they should be okay. I'm not seeing really any issues with spelling or anything like that, so hopefully these will go down fairly nice. Alright, so starting off with our first sprue. It's not starting off great because this sprue was actually all of the fuselage pieces, and as soon as I removed it from the bag, they all like folded up and fell off the sprue. So this is not starting off very good for this kit. So the only only part that is left on the sprue that hasn't fallen off is this one side of one of the wing tanks right here. Now we do have some raised panel lines on here. The detail on that is okay. We also have some flash right here, and so on both of these tanks it's the same way. And as you see, this one just kind of folded and broke off of this sprue. So again, we have raised panel lines. Definitely going to need to rescribe, sand down and rescribe all of those panel lines, which is going to be a lot of work. Alright, so moving on to our fuselage halves. We have first the forward half, which again has raised panel lines on here all the way through. There's no rivet detail on here, just a little bit of vent detail on here, as you can see, and it does have a few scratches on the fuselage, as you can see right there, from just getting banged around in the bag. So again, not the best detail on this kit, and definitely going to need to sand down the areas and try to fix those areas that it folded off of the sprue. So on the inside, we have a little bit of radio detail right in here for the cockpit area, and then a little bit of sidewall detail right here on that. So really not going to be able to see much of it, but the nice thing is there are no ejector pin marks on the inside of this fuselage right here. So we get two of these, get them put together. I am honestly surprised on how big this is so far. Just in 1/48 scale, I'm kind of surprised on how big it is. So moving on to the aft fuselage section, again, raised panel lines, not much detail. We do have some flash going around, and then also just no rivet detail on here whatsoever. Now, how much rivet detail is actually on this kit, I might have to go check it out and see how they look in real life. But again, not much detail to the exterior of this fuselage, as you can see, but we do have a good amount of flash throughout here. Just trying to clean that up real quick, but it's going to take a lot more cleanup than that. Now flip it over to the other side for the inside. Again, no ejector pin marks on the inside, so that is very nice. And then back here on this section, on the ramp section, we do have a little bit of detail in here. Definitely would be nice to spruce it up, to liven it up with some cabling. You do have some frames that go in there, but I think those go, I'm not sure exactly where those go. But again, it's a good starting point for the interior detail right here. So that's where that is. And then again, just a ton of flash on this kit. Get these two halves together just as a rough fit. I'm not going to try to get it a perfect fit because of all the flash. Again, look at that. Look at that issue right there. A major issue with that. And I have the bottom pretty much where it's supposed to be. And then we have this giant gap. I'm not thinking that the connection point for the rear stabilizer or the vertical stabilizer is that big. But we'll have to check and see. But you get this all together, and it is a fairly decent sized kit. I mean, trying to get it lined up. There we go. There's that one. Yeah, so it's definitely going to be a fight to get all of this together and lined up. So, but again, it looks like a decent sized kit, but it is going to take some work with the rescribing because, as you can see and hear, raised panel lines on everything. Alright, up next we have our clear parts right here, and again this canopy is broken off and just bouncing around in the bag along with this sprue right here, just willy-nilly and free. So we do have a couple scratches on the canopy as well, but everything else besides a few scratch marks, they do look very nice on the windows right here, and then these clear parts look very nice as well. Alright, so moving on to our next sprue, this is our lower wings right here. And again, with the raised panel lines, we do have a little bit of flash going around everything right in here. Our wheels, not much detail to those as well, so definitely going to want to get the aftermarket ones of that. Our landing gear, they look like they're beefy enough to support the weight of the kit, so that's a nice detail. And then our nose landing gear section, there's absolutely no detail to it, but you probably won't be able to see it at all anyways. Now moving on to this aft section, we do have a little bit of nice fabric detail on this molded in, so that is a nice piece. And then our horizontal stabilizers, again, raised panel lines, but they have a recessed indentation for your trim tab right here. So, and also a recess for your elevators as well. So as long as you take your time rescribing everything, it's going to come out nice, but it's going to be a lot of work. So flipping it over to the other side, we do have our aft landing gear section, and again we have a ton of raised ejector pin marks on this kit, and they are very thick ejector pin marks. I'm hoping you can see how big those are in the camera right there. So that is going to take a lot of work to get that all cleaned up, and then also there's not much detail to it at all either anyways. Alright, so moving on to our next, we have our upper wings right here, again with the raised panel lines, nothing different than the rest of the kit right there. And then the same thing with our horizontal stabilizers or vertical stabilizers as well. And we do have, alright, so we do have a long connection point right here. So definitely going to need to clean up the fuselage where this is supposed to slide in, but that is why we had that large gap in there. But again, with the raised panel lines, the seats on the back, they look old, molded, like something from the 80s. And the same thing with the front. Alright, so our seat belts on this, if you can see, right there, let me get you zoomed in and focused. Yeah, as you can see, there's not the seatbelt detail on there. Yeah, so that's pretty bad. That is like 90s molding, and this kit might be from the 90s, who knows, but I'll look it up in scale mates and put it in the video. But on the inside of the door, we do have a couple of ejector pin marks right here, and then some attempt of fabric molding right there as well. Alright, so up next we have some interior details right here. Again, we have the attempted fabric texture on these pieces right here, and then the bulkhead detail right there. That does look okay. It doesn't look too bad. And then is this a bed? Maybe that's a bed, but again, and this panel right here, again, just the detail on these are kind of lackluster. They don't pop out at you. Then on this side, some decent detail, couple ejector pin marks right at the top right here, as you can see with the detail on that. And then landing gear door, not going to see the upside of it right here, but they do have a couple ejector pin marks. just all the other areas right here. It's just the detail on this part, on this kit, is just underwhelming right now. Alright, and then moving on to our engine sprues, again with the raised panel lines and everything on here. I think it's Armor Factory has the resin replacements for these, so definitely going to get those for this kit. And our props look okay. They might be a little bit thick, but I'm sure once you get the prop cone on and everything, they should look alright. Our exhaust area and everything just going on. We have our frame detail for the ramp section back here as well. Some decent detail on that. Flip it over to the other side. Same thing with their blade detail. Actually, these plates right here are way too thick for the props on that. So, and then we have some massive ejector pin marks on our exhaust area right in there. Alright, moving forward, we have some more detail parts. This is for your the front area of your landing gear humps on the fuselage. Again, same detail as the rest of the fuselage, and everything else on here just looks about the same as well. Flip it around, our instrument panel looks rather basic on that. A couple MFDs, and we also have ejector pin marks on the inside of the MFDs as well. So that's where we're running into with those issues as well. And then also on the seat right here, I think this is the flight engineer seat. We also have a couple of ejector pin marks on that one as well. Then we have this giant wing spar. Looks alright with the weight of the model. With the wings, it should hold up the weight fairly nicely. And then for our final sprue, we have the other halves of our horizontal stabilizers, same as before on those. And then we have the rest of our bulkhead. We have our ramp right here, again raised panel lines. And then for the cargo bay floor, we have that detail on there. Not much by today's standards, but it should be okay, and I'm not sure on how much of it you're going to be able to see. We flip it over to our cockpit. Again, a little bit of detail on it, but not much on there. So going right along, and you have another instrument panel right here as well. Alright, so that does it for the inbox review of the Italeri 148 scale C-130J. Now I can say this, the detail on this kit looks old, and while I was getting some stuff ready, I did look up on ScaleMates. This kit was a new tool back in 1984. Alright, so basically 2 years after I was born, this one came out. And then Testers did a box. And then in 1985 they added new parts. In 1985 and in 1986. And then 1989 they added new decals. 1997 they added new parts. And then in 2000, between 2000 and 2005 they added new parts 2 separate times. And then in 2014, which is when this box was released, they added new parts as well. So my question is, if they're adding new parts to the kit, and I'm not seeing an upgrade over time between the parts, they all look the same on detail wise, and they honestly look bad. They just do not look good. So I think this kit is just going to go on the shelf, and I'm going to wait until somebody else does a complete new tool of this aircraft, because I don't think I'm going to build it. Just all the work that's going to take for all the rescribing, all the panel lines and everything, it just seems like a lot more work than what it's worth. Maybe I'll get a bug up my butt and I'll build it one day, but this isn't high up on my priority list. I was very excited coming into this inbox review about this kit. And then as I started going through it more and more and more, my motivation for it started going down. And it's just, the kit is 41 years old, 41 years old. You can't tell me that you're not going to do a new tool in that time. That's a long time. That's almost half a century. And yet no new tools for this kit. Alright, but anyways, rant is over. The kit, yeah, it's going to be going up on the shelf. Might get built sometime. I'm not sure. But anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this inbox review. I hope if you were on the fence about buying this kit, I hope this helped answer any questions that you had and helped you with your decision to buy the kit. And yeah, so if you haven't yet, don't forget to like and subscribe and comment down below. Comment if you've built this kit before. And yeah, until next time, have a great day, stay frosty, and happy modeling.